Thanks for joining me here at Rolling Up My Sleeves. It's my first day with Rammy McSkidface. That is, in case you don't know, a Bombardier Ram skidder. Not to be confused with the J5. I've called it a J5 before because I own J5s, but this is actually quite different. The engine is in the front of this one, so it can haul loads in the back, of course, offset the weight of the logs. 6-cylinder Dodge engine, 251, flathead 6. This one needs a little bit of work, which I'm going to bring it in today. It's got a hole in the exhaust manifold. I'm going to bring it in. A buddy of mine's going to fix that up for me. I just don't have time to tap and drill and tap studs because I know they're going to break. And I've got a carb kit for it as well, so it should be able to get a really good tune-up. Now this is a pretty good machine because the previous owner did the tracks on it, did all the drive line on it, new clutch, did a ton of stuff, rebuilt all kinds of things. I put a new old winch cable that I had on it. The cable he had was kind of euchred. There's an electric brake for the winch, so it won't spool out when you're driving, of course. It'll hold on to it. Now, usually this comes with a flat deck on the back, and it sort of ramps on a bit of an angle so you can pull logs up onto the back of it and support them a little bit, and that way you probably won't tag the tracks as well. Previous owner removed that flat deck and put this arch off a 440 John Deere, I believe, which is pretty cool, right? It's pretty slick. A couple of owners ago, they cut a foot off of this goofy roll bar to get it into their 7-foot garage. I can barely fit in that thing. So that's coming off, and we're going to build a real cage for that. It's pretty goofy. I can barely see out the front of this. Like when I'm sitting up there, geez, I don't know if you can even see. That's the angle I see. It's kind of silly. It's got an electronic fuel pump in it. He removed the mechanical one off it. That's your brake for the winch. Clutch. Gas pedal. That engages the winch, and this powers the winch. Basically, you transfer the power from the transmission through into that gearbox, if I understand it correctly, and then the winch gets powered. So this is my first time running it. All right, so be patient with me. Rammy McSkidface. I don't know why I called it that. Rammy McRamskid. Rammy McRamface. I don't know. There was a thing on the internet about naming a Canadian Coast Guard ship. I think it was a Canadian Coast Guard ship, and somebody wanted to call it Bodie McBoatface. So you can see what I have to do. This old stand of pine was put in here in the 60s, and it hasn't, I think it's had 1 or 2 trimmings. And you could probably tell from the distance between them, there's about 6 feet in between them. They're growing pretty straight, but they do need to be thinned out. When you come to the outside of it, you can see what happens. This is the big guy. That's about 17 inches in diameter. But what happens on the outside trees is they get a little squirrely. Lots of branches grow on them because they're, reaching for the sunlight. So that bird's coming down. So I've got to take out the bad stuff, and then I'm probably going to come in about the 3rd row. What do I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows. So I'll come in and do the 3rd. I'll split them up anyway, and I'll just take a whole line of those pine out so they can start to grow again. The ones on the outside, of course, get all the sunlight so they get big, and the ones on the inside, they don't get very big at all. I'll show you what happens to these here. Now this one, there was a growth in here, and they cut it right out. You can see the stumps on the ground there. And this is what happens. If you do it right, it grows up in oak and maple. So that's good. That's kind of what you want. But this was all farmer's field at one time. So they messed around with it, and back in the 60s, when they were pushing for these pine plantations, they took advantage of it and piled them in. It's a pretty weird place, I'm not going to lie. It's almost devoid of wildlife unless something's just passing through. But here, I'll show you what it's like on the inside of this. Isn't this weird? At night, it's darn right spooky. We went in here the other night, and it's very quiet and eerie. Yeah, so I've got about 800 of them in here. I'm not going to take them all down this summer, but I do have some cabin projects I want to work on, and right now I want to see how Rami does pulling these logs out, right? And see what I need to do, because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get it out, and then I'm going to take them right up to my buddy the mechanic, and then it's going to go right to my shop, because we're going to get rid of that goofy roll cage. That's no good for anybody, right? Nope. Although it is original, which is very cool. I'm not gonna lie. That's pretty darn cool. It looks fast. So for more videos of Rami in action, make sure you come back to rolling up my sleeves. Give me a big old thumbs up. Check me out on Facebook.